Adelaide Bergstrom stood trembling in the doorway of the Montana cabin, her 6 feet 2 inches frame quaking as her Nordic blue eyes filled with tears. The towering mail-order bride had journeyed 1,800 miles from Minnesota to wed a rancher she'd never met, drawn by an advertisement promising that height was no barrier and a fresh start awaited. But Wyatt McKenna, the 6 feet 7 inches rancher whose broad shoulders seemed to block the sunset, couldn't meet her gaze. Adelaide had expected a modest homestead, perhaps solitude, maybe grueling work. Instead, what she saw made her gasp, "This is the greatest I've ever seen," her voice a blend of awe and heartbreak that would reshape their lives. Wyatt hesitated, his massive hands shaking, his weathered face twisted with shame, for he was about to do something unthinkable, something that could shatter Adelaide's dreams of belonging or unveil a truth so profound it would test whether two wounded souls could find home. 3 weeks earlier, Adelaide sat in a cramped street Paul boarding house, rereading the matrimonial ad for the 100th time. Her calloused fingers traced the words, "Rancher, Montana Territory, seeks companion. Must value solitude, hard work, God's creation. Height no obstacle." Those last 3 words made her hands tremble. In 32 years, no one had ever said that to her, not her mother, who apologized for her freakishly tall daughter, not her late husband, Carl, who married her for her strength but reminded her real women were delicate, not the churchgoers who whispered her size was a divine curse. Adelaide had spent her life shrinking, hunching her shoulders, softening her voice, trying to take up less space. Carl had been dead 3 years, the farm sold to cover his debts, leaving her with $47 and no place to call home. So she wrote to the rancher, pouring her heart into tales of her Swedish grandmother's lessons, her love for prairie sunsets, and her struggle to feel at ease in her own skin. She didn't mention her height, certain he'd send her away once he knew. But Wyatt's reply was different. In careful, blocky handwriting, he wrote of understanding what it meant to not fit, that Montana was vast enough for big people, that loneliness was worse than solitude, and he valued honest companionship over pretty lies. He sent $43 for her train fare, crisp bills that smelled of hope. Now, at the Silver Creek General Store, she watched the tallest man she'd ever seen load her bag into a wagon. Wyatt wasn't just tall, he was a mountain, with hands that could cradle a melon and a voice like distant thunder. His soft brown eyes, though, held the same loneliness she saw in her own reflection. The 4-hour wagon ride to his ranch revealed Montana's breathtaking wilderness, rolling plains, purple mountains, whispering aspens, a hawk crying to the endless sky. They spoke of real things, his Norwegian grandfather's 1852 homestead, how the McKenna men were giants valued for labor but feared for strength, how he'd built this ranch after his father's death, and how the silence sometimes choked him. Adelaide shared her grandmother's stories, her loveless marriage to Carl, her dream of standing tall without apology. Wyatt's hands tightened on the reins. "You don't have to make yourself small here, Adelaide. Not on my land. Not in my home." The ranch was simple yet stunning. Pine log cabin, stone chimney, hay-scented barn, a singing creek nearby. As Wyatt helped her down from the wagon, Adelaide reached up slightly to take his hand, a first in her life, and something inside her exhaled. That evening, over beef stew and cornbread at a hand-hewn table, she saw Wyatt move carefully, as if afraid of his own size. She knew that fear. Later, on the porch, they watched stars spill across the sky like diamonds on velvet. "I need to tell you something," Wyatt said, his voice tight. "Before you stay, I'm not the man the town thinks I am. 7 years ago, I did something violent." Adelaide's heart quickened, but she stayed still. "Tell me," she said. Wyatt gripped the porch railing, knuckles whitening. "I was engaged to Sarah Pritchard, a banker's daughter, petite, barely reached my chest. The town thought us odd, but her father saw profit, my land, his money. I thought I loved her, or maybe just the idea that someone delicate could want me. It made me feel normal." A coyote howled in the distance. One night in town, a drunken drifter said something crude to Sarah. "I saw red, Adelaide. I threw him against a hitching post. He came at me, and I hit him, once." His voice dropped. "He fell like a cut tree. Never got up right. Brain injury. Can't remember his name some days. He left town, but the damage was done." Adelaide pictured it. A gentle giant pushed too far, his size a weapon he didn't mean to wield. "Sarah looked at me like I was a monster," Wyatt continued. "She broke the engagement. Her father called in a loan, nearly bankrupted me. The town decided I was dangerous. Mothers crossed the street with their kids. The sheriff told me to stay away unless necessary." His voice cracked. "Worst of all, I was relieved when Sarah left. I didn't love her, I loved the acceptance she represented. I used her, and a man's life was ruined because of my pride. Tears glistened on his cheeks in the moonlight. I placed that ad because no woman here would have me. I'm a violent man, alone for a reason. You deserve to know before you decide to stay with someone who nearly killed a man. Adelaide's mind raced. She thought of Carl's quiet cruelties, her father's abandonment, the preacher who called her soul unnatural. She'd been judged for her size her whole life. She knew a monster from a man who dared. Did you apologize? She asked softly. Wyatt blinked. To the drifter. I tried. He was gone. I sent money through the sheriff for his care, but I don't know if it reached him. I prayed for him for 3 years. Still do. But I can't undo it. Adelaide stepped closer, smelling leather and wood smoke. Wyatt McKenna, I was married to a man who never hit me but broke me daily with his contempt. You made a terrible mistake, but you've carried it for 7 years, punishing yourself, moving like you're sorry for existing. She placed her hand over his trembling one. I don't know you fully yet, but I see the man you're trying to be. That matters. You're not afraid of me. Wyatt whispered. I'm terrified, she admitted. Not of you hitting me, but of hoping again, of believing I could have a home, only to be told I'm too much. A tear fell. I'm afraid of being seen and still rejected. Wyatt's breath caught. I see you, Adelaide, and you're the bravest woman I know. You traveled 1,800 miles to start over. You're here, not running from my confession. You're not making yourself small, and that's the most beautiful thing I've seen. Her heart pounded. Then let's make a deal. We stop apologizing for who we are, stop punishing ourselves for what we can't change, and see if two misfits can fit together. Just honesty, a chance. Wyatt laced his fingers with hers, his hand engulfing but right. I'd like that more than anything. They stood, two giants under Montana's sky, holding hands like nervous teens. For the first time, neither felt alone. But they didn't know what waited inside the cabin, a letter in Wyatt's desk that could unravel everything. The next 3 weeks felt like a dream. Adelaide woke to sunrises painting the mountains, Wyatt's quiet coffee-making signaling home. They fell into a rhythm. Wyatt tended cattle, Adelaide transformed the cabin, scrubbing floors, sewing curtains. Planting herbs. Evenings were for porch talks, Wyatt's childhood, Adelaide's loveless marriage, their shared fears of rejection. I was so desperate to be chosen, she confessed one night, I didn't choose Carl back. I just said yes. Wyatt nodded. I did the same with Sarah, ignoring that we didn't fit, just to feel less alone. Is that what we're doing? She asked. His eyes held hers. No, but I'm scared you'll see me as she did. Adelaide took his hand. Fear proves we're risking something real. One evening, Wyatt led her to his office, pulling a yellowed envelope from his desk. This came 2 weeks before you, he said, voice raw. From Sarah. I haven't opened it, too afraid of what it says. Do you want me here when you read it? She asked. I need you here, he said. To see me as a man, not a monster. He opened it, hands shaking. His face paled as he read. She's dying, he whispered. Consumption. 6 months left. She asks forgiveness for running when I needed her, for letting her father ruin me, for not seeing one mistake doesn't define me. She married a cold lawyer, realized anger doesn't make a man bad. She hopes I'm happy. His voice broke. The drifter I hurt, he's okay, running a shop in Helena. He forgave me years ago. Adelaide knelt beside Wyatt as he crumpled, sobbing 7 years of guilt. She held him, his massive frame against her shoulder. Let it go, she whispered. You've paid enough. They've forgiven you. Forgive yourself. He looked at her, tears streaming. How are you so sure? Because I carried guilt for Carl's death, for not loving him, for feeling free when he died. Guilt without purpose is pride, Wyatt. Choose to live. They held each other, two broken souls healing under Montana's stars. But they didn't know what Adelaide would find the next morning. Before dawn, Adelaide searched for Wyatt, finding him by the creek, holding a ring he'd carved from Montana agate, glowing with gold and amber. His face was raw with hope and fear. This is the greatest I've ever seen, she gasped, not about the ring but his heart, his courage to offer everything despite rejection's risk. I know it's soon, Wyatt said, kneeling. I'm terrified, but I love you, Adelaide. I love how you stand tall, see me, make this a home. Will you marry me? Not out of desperation, but because you choose me. Tears fell. Yes, she said, pulling him up to kiss him. He lifted her, spinning her as the sun rose, two giants finally free. The ring fit perfectly. Back at the cabin, laughing and crying, Adelaide knew she'd never shrink again. She could be loved as she was. That was the greatest thing she'd ever seen. Months later, their ranch thrived. A letter from the drifter thanked Wyatt, offering peace. Silver Creek softened, seeing their kindness. When their son was born, tall, blue-eyed, gentle, Adelaide smiled. "This is the greatest I've seen," she said, meaning their family, their love. Wyatt kissed her. "And it's ours." Their legend grew, two giants who found greatness in each other, free at last.